The first room that you're in is the room of dreams. And the room of dreams is basically where you say to yourself, if you could write the perfect script to your life from this point going forward, how would you write it?
Hello, everyone, and welcome into CrushTheStreet.com. I'm Kenneth Amaduri, and we got a good interview today. I know it's going to be a good interview because I'm interviewing Greg Powell, author of Better, Richer, Fuller, How Building Your Financial House Can Protect Your Loved Ones, Grow Your Assets, and Free You to Live the American Dream. Greg Powell has over 30 years of experience with the financial industry and holds a certified investment management analyst certificate. I'm going to talk to him today about his book. Great book, a lot of inspiration and a lot of direction on how to basically attack this new economy, approach this new economy and be successful. And that's very important. So Greg, thanks for coming on the line with me today.
Thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, hey, you got a great story. If you wouldn't mind, please share with us how you were inspired to write this book and, what led you to educating people in the way you do.
Sure. Well, financial literacy is a big cause of mine. And as you said in your introduction, I've been in the investment industry for over 30 years. And back when our youngest daughter was 5 years old, we were sitting on a Sunday afternoon, and she asked me with a box of Crayolas and pieces of paper to draw a house. And in the process of drawing that house, she started to color in the different rooms and tell me what each room was for. As I sat there with her, it occurred to me that this might be an incredible way to explain financial planning to individuals. So often our industry has made financial planning seem very complex, a lot of stack of papers, a lot of information. Where do I begin? And I wanted a process that would simplify the way we look at financial planning, as well as give people a way to have conversation and dialogue, to know what to ask a financial advisor, and also to help those financial advisors out there have discussions. And so basically, in Better, Richer, Fuller, which, by the way, is taken from the book Epic of America, written by James Truslow Adams in 1931, who coined the phrase the American Dream in that book. And so, I ask people constantly, if you had to choose between your money outperforming the S&P 500 index or achieving your dreams and goals, which would you pick? I've always had people pick achieving their dreams and goals. And so the point I wanted to make in this book is that there's a way, step by step, in a simple process, to go through and really map out a financial blueprint for yourself and for your family. The other point I will make is that the house symbolizes relationships. And as you read the book, you'll see that there's not any products mentioned. There's not any charts and graphs about market performance. It's really a dialogue and questions that need to be asked as you are planning your life, as well as how those relationships in your life could impact your financial situation.
Wow. Really, you're talking about having a balance in your own life and the benefit of that. So let's talk about, just maybe some action steps here. What do people do to identify their goals and create a strategy to be successful in achieving them?
Well, first of all, when you look at Your Financial House, and I have a website, yourfinancialhouse.com, that's also tied with the book Better, Richer, Fuller, is that the first room that you're in is the room of dreams. And the room of dreams is basically where you say to yourself, if you could write the perfect script to your life from this point going forward, how would you write it? It's also got questions in there that ask, if money were no object and you knew you couldn't fail, what decisions would you make in your life? And then one thing that I'm very proud of that people have told me has really gotten them to think is our ASK process, ASK. It stands for anxiety, strengths, and knowledge. And what we want to do in this process is address any anxieties that someone may have. And I'm talking about that little voice in the back of your head that goes, will I have enough money to retire on? Can I preserve the wealth I already have? Will I be able to pay for my kids' college education? I have a child with special needs. How can I How can I take care of them later in life? It's all those anxieties that prevent you from moving forward. The S is the strengths, which basically what strengths can we free you up on so that you can move forward. And knowledge is what knowledge do you need to bring to the table to take away those anxieties and free you up for those strengths. And so going back to your question, is that one of the things that prevents people from moving forward is just the anxiety of the unknown. Anxiety is worry with anticipation. And so often, if they go through the financial planning process, the financial blueprint, they're able then to understand, well, these are steps I need to take, and I may get to a very realistic goal to achieve those dreams. I mean, there's no guarantees, but at least it gets them moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's interesting, Greg, and it's interesting what you pointed out with people wanting to achieve their goals and their dreams. And I had someone ask me the other day, said, hey, if your son, when he's 18 years old, says he wants to be an actor or he wants to be a musician and go into that field, and would you be okay with that? And I had to sit back now that I actually have kids and think about that question. Like, would I really be okay with my son or daughter going into a field that would likely not pay them very well unless they were one in 1,000 or 1 in 1,000,000?
Sure.
And I was thinking about that. So and my response was, well, I would hope that they would build some sort of income, some sort of foundational base that gave them the opportunity, the freedom to do what they wanted to do. And I guess that is a certain must-have. There's a certain foundation that, it's probably not, it's not the same for everybody, but there's a certain foundation that you have to build under you to give you that freedom to allow you to venture out. And just any thoughts on that? If people do want to go out and do something extravagant or take some big risks in life, what are some of the must-haves to build that foundation?
Well, you bring up a good topic twofold. Number one, another reason I wrote the book is I had clients say to me, I want something I can give to my children and grandchildren to read, because I've been doing this so long, I've got generational relationships in families. And so going back to that is understanding the importance of that financial blueprint. And the financial planning process isn't done correctly, is an educational process. And so it allows, let's say, someone like a child who wants to go into acting to start to understand these are my financial obligations going forward, and I need to look at ways to map out the strategies. It's interesting you should say that, because I know of one situation where the daughter was a theater major, then mapped out a whole financial strategy and went and worked on the cruise ships for 3 or 4 years, performing and saving up her money, and then went to New York and Broadway. And because she had mapped it out as a financial strategy and planning, then she didn't have to wait tables while she was in New York. And for the first 6 months, she was able to network, really go to a lot of the auditions and open up doors. She never had a lead role in a Broadway play, but guess what? She had a very successful career as a Broadway performer, and then turned around and went back and got her master's and is now teaching at a university, and she's teaching theater and has done great financially. So again, it's thinking about the what ifs and what steps can I take. And I go back to the ask process. What knowledge do I need to bring to the table? That knowledge may be financial knowledge. It may also be talking to people in the arena of theater to understand all the different career opportunities that you could choose from. The same applies if as you read the book about career transition, people who are unhappy in their careers, or they're going to sell their business and now they want to reinvent themselves to do something else. I address that in the book. And the planning process enables somebody to understand, what decisions they would have to make. In the book, I talk about one gentleman who was a key executive who got an early out package and for retirement, and he took it. And when I asked him the question, if money were no object and you knew you couldn't fail, what decisions would you make in your life? And he smiled and looked at me and said, I'd love to be an athletic director of a university, and I have no credentials. And as we looked at that in mapping out the financial blueprint and the financial obligations that he had, as well as decisions he would need to make, I said, let's go on a journey here. And I introduced him to people in the university athletics arena, as I like to call it. And he interviewed around, and today he is an associate athletic director at a university.
Wow.
And what came out of it is that he took his strengths, his executive leadership, and they realized, this one particular university said, we need you here because you're coming in from the outside, bringing in a business attitude. And with that, you're able to raise more money and to get more alumni involved than we have from people who have come up through the ranks of the university.
Wow.
And so he is living his dream in a second career, and financially was able to make that transition confidently because he had done a financial blueprint.
Greg, I would love for people to be able to experience or go through and really see the hard work it takes to become successful. Because so many instances, we just see the finished product, but we don't see the day by day, the failures, the moments you're just really grinding it out make it to be successful. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, you just see the finished products of so many. And I feel like so many people try without really trying, and there's people out there who are serial entrepreneurs. They know how to do it. They know how to be successful because they've done it, and they implement those same relentless methodologies to break through in whatever it is that they're doing. And I guess what I'm wondering is, how do you transfer that work ethic to another generation, maybe another generation that didn't have to work as hard as you did, or just, are seeing, some really, really privileged aspects of life, and maybe not understanding the value or the hard work that went behind them being able to benefit from that?
Well, you're bringing up some great points here. I could do a whole show just on that one question. And first of all, on the serial entrepreneur, is that one reason the serial entrepreneur needs to do a financial blueprint is too often their personal life and professional life blend together to the point they don't know the difference. And it's very important for them to understand that they need to separate the two, as well as they work towards their net worth. And so as you walk through the different rooms in Your Financial House, whether it's the lifestyle room, the children's heirs room, the estate planning room, which is very big for serial entrepreneurs to understand that it's one thing to be successful and make money. It's another thing to cross the T's and dot the I's and protect what you've achieved and accomplished. And so, with serial entrepreneurs, it's very important that they do that. And at the same time, to pass that on to the next generation and to understand all the hard work. What we do at my firm, Five Plan Partners, is that a lot of times the serial entrepreneur or the business owner, the one that has built up this net worth, then make sure that their children or possibly their grandchildren go through the Your Financial House process and make sure that they start to have an education as to what it takes to have the kind of net worth that they have, as well as developing the responsibility with that. Another thing in the legacy room that I talk about in the Your Financial House process is that legacy is built long before you die. And so as a serial entrepreneur, as one who has built up a net worth, it's also important to educate the next generation not only about accumulation, but also about gifting and the importance of that. You want them to have a very big understanding about that. And I've had some serial entrepreneurs that have formed foundations, or each year they get together as a family to determine what charities or religious organizations that they want to give to, and they let the entire family vote on it, just to give a sense of the importance of the money that they have and the way, if they're going to distribute it and gift it, teaching those next generations how to do that. The same applies on the business side, almost forming a family board of directors and educating the generation about how to handle money.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great idea. Very, very on a large scope. I have a 3-year-old right now and also a 1-year-old, and I've been trying to instill in my son, he's the 3-year-old, and try to tell him, hey, you need to earn this and the value that comes, because he's got a good life, I mean,
right.
He has everything he wants, but the problem is I don't want him to just assume that it just comes from nowhere, because it scares me that he might grow up entitled and lazy. And we bought him a little doctor's kit, a toy doctor's kit, and I've been having him do checkups on people that come into the house, and I pay him, and just show him, like, hey, you got to work for this. You're providing value, and where money comes from. So. But yeah, no, that's one thing that scares me is raising children that are entitled, that don't see the value of working and just don't want to be successful on their own. They're comfortable where they're at, and that bothers me.
And I talk about the success of failure in the book, that you have to let your kids understand that failure does not mean permanent loss. That it's about you being able to take an idea, a career path, to continue with it, to be passionate about what you do. And I tell a story in there about a gentleman who thought his life basically, from a career standpoint, was over. And as I sat there with him, sharing with him about people that we viewed as successful, who had more failures than successes in their lives, it inspired him to go and form his own company. Wow. And the same runs true with kids, that they've got to understand that there's more out there. A story I tell within the book is a couple, they've been clients of mine for some time. Their daughter kind of got in with the wrong crowd. And in having discussions about it, and as we talked about Legacy Room, one of the things that they chose to do was to get her involved in a charity of her choice. Okay. Let her pick it, and the parents and her would be together working and being involved in that. And she picked up a cause regarding homeless shelter and working with people. And she became involved in that, realized how fortunate she was. And one day they noticed the crowd that she'd kind of gotten involved with, the group of friends, were no longer around. And she responded by saying, their values just aren't in line with mine, and I don't have time for them anymore. And so part of it too is what you just said, as parents, getting involved with our children and exposing them to a bigger world out there. This young lady's gone on to do some great things in charity work. And so it was a turning point in her life. And also because her parents got involved, and then they personally gave to the charity as parents, but then they gave her money initially to give to the charity, and then started a trend with her that each year she would continue giving to the charity, and now she raises a lot of money for that charity.
So, Greg, you brought up an interesting point here. You talked about essentially giving, and that's a powerful principle that I feel it transcends, who a person is, because if you're able to give, it shows that you're more concerned, or you have concern for other people, and that's really powerful in providing value in a world. And when you provide value in a world, that is profitable. It ends up being profitable because it comes full circle. And the ability to say, hey, I'm going to forego something and have enough savings essentially to save for myself, to pay for my goods, and then to have money to actually give on top of that. It exercises a muscle in your self-discipline to be able to do that. And it's funny, the people that are able to give, even from early ages, I know these people to be very successful in life because they've exercised a discipline that it transcends, and I believe it's one of those building blocks to success. So I loved what you said about, the charity aspect. I believe in the open hand principle, and I hope the audience does as well. I know the most people that are listening to this podcast now are givers, because they're entrepreneurs or successful people.
Right.
But those who aren't, I strongly recommend that you make giving a part of your life. And any thoughts on that?
Well, I just have a saying that no one is successful or fulfilled unless they touch the lives of those around them. And I fully believe that. And you also used a key word, is discipline, from the standpoint of, I've sat down with individuals before who looked at me and said, right now I'm not in a position to give to a particular charity or to help someone out, but later on I would like to be. And so we actually mapped it out in the financial blueprint that on down the road this would be a charity or an organization or some individual that they wanted to help with. But it's also keeping that balance between the giving, and also, as the house symbolizes relationships, those situations that may hit you financially. So we you've heard the saying, charity starts first at home. Well, in the children's heirs room is where I talk about, do you have a child with special needs? Do you have a child with drug or alcohol dependency? Do you have a parent or an in-law that may become a dependent in-law or dependent parent? Mapping those things out in advance, and also mapping out your giving down the road, just puts you in a confident state to where these are things I can handle. It tries to help eliminate those areas of your life that could possibly blindside you. So it's one thing to feel like and to know, hey, I've become very successful and I've really increased my net worth, but it's also to get you to think about things that could very well take away from it, or at the same time put you in a position that you could actually give more if you wanted to. Yeah.
No, that's very true. And, being able to give, and it kind of puts your mindset in check as well, because
right.
If you have more of a heart to give, that means you're saying you're rejecting this over exuberant consumerism lifestyle, which gets people in over their head, the credit card
Absolutely.
debt and
Sure.
all of these things that bury us, because we are just consumed by the fact that we have something in the account, or we have the ability to spend money, whether it's our money or the bank's, and
Right.
And getting something, versus saying, I'm okay with seeing some money in my checking account and foregoing that material item, and giving a portion of that away. And I think there's a lot to it, and it goes so much deeper than just giving to someone else. It transcends, and in the end, it's good for building a savings. It's good for networking. It's good for helping people. And I believe when you create value in your society, it's great for your financial security down the road. So
It is.
Great words there from you, Greg. Greg, if you have any other words of wisdom or comments that you'd like to share, I'd like to offer you the opportunity to do that now, and tell us for sure about your firm and where people can get your book.
Sure. Well, I greatly appreciate that. The name of my firm is FI Plan Partners, FI Plan Partners, and we have a website. Also, the Better, Richer, Fuller book is now on sale on Amazon.com. So it's available in hardback as well as a Kindle version. And so please get a copy of it, take it, and let me know what you think, and hopefully it will make a difference in your life. One of the things I've been told is that not only did it answer questions people had, but it really inspired them to answer or to ask other questions and to get solutions. So very excited about what's going on there. And then from the standpoint of the book itself and any words of wisdom, as you read the book, you will find Powell's laws throughout the book, and there's a list of them at the very back. which is my philosophy on things that people forget in their financial planning process. And so it really challenges you and inspires you, I think, and what I'm told, to take time to do a financial blueprint, to ask the questions and understand that just because you may be very successful in life, you may be intimidated by the financial planning process. The other thing I would say to those of you listening is that it's also important to create what I refer to as your advisory team. And one of the things we do at Five Plan Partners is really coordinate with the CPA, with the estate attorney, with any other professionals that are in our clients' lives, so that we can bring that knowledge to the table to really make a difference in someone's life. Or at least to have that discussion and sometimes even debate to get towards the right answer. And that's very important for every individual to do that. If you study the super wealthy, is that the super wealthy a lot of times will have a financial team that works exclusively with them. Well, I'm saying to those listening today, you don't have to be super wealthy to have that. You can coordinate your team and do that. And then finally, I would just say that your financial house process not only has the house that symbolizes relationships, but it also emphasizes the fact that if you were going to build a house, you would never sit down with a builder and start to talk about what you wanted after purchasing the land and have the builder look at you and say, we've met for about an hour. And now if you just go on and write me a check, I'll start construction tomorrow morning. I really don't need a blueprint. The point I want to make here is there are plenty of people out there claiming to be financial advisors. And I will tell you, in my opinion, a red flag is that if you are talking to a financial advisor who doesn't want to do the financial planning aspect of it, then you probably need to just go on and get up and walk out. Because financial planning, the financial blueprint, makes a huge difference in understanding where you need to be down the road or what steps you need to take to be down the road. And then in terms of a house in general, to maintain the value of a house, you've got to do upkeep. You've got to do renovations. And every now and then you just need to clean up a room. And your financial house gives you the analogies and the focus to understand what areas of your life you need to be addressing to stay on track to where you need to be. And so on that, I would say those are my kind of parting words there. And hopefully they will read the book and get inspired to take action in their lives.
Wow. Greg, you're an authority on this subject, and I appreciate your time and coming on the show with me today. So I'll be sure to definitely have you back on and to have these same type of conversations, because I think it's very important. And you know what? It's really one of those things that you can't get tired of. You have to. You always need that motivation. You get your motivation for one day. But that's one of those things you almost need like a daily type of dose to say, hey, wake up with that great attitude and to take that next step forward. And I believe when you do that on a regular basis, you have those game changer moments that really, really impact your life. So thanks so much, sir.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. It's an honor to